But I was laying there falling asleep, and I saw a man standing next to my bed, a big, strong man. But I recognized him instantly as my son. And of course, that didn't make sense because my son was a baby. And I said, Jefferson? And then behind him came an angel who was much bigger than he was. And he said, Mom, you have to get back out there. The country's on fire.
Oh,
And I said, but I wanted to do it with you. And he said, I will be with you. I will be with you every moment. You have to get back out there. And so the next day, I just went right back to doing what I thought God needed me to do. And a lot of people said that I needed to stop and take a break and just let it go. And I said, we don't have time for breaks. There's too much wickedness right now. We can grieve in between, we can heal in between, but there's no room right now. As we can see, look at Israel, look at all of these nations all over the country, look at our borders. We have to stand up and we have to persevere and we have to push forward. And I was raised that abortion is fine, it's normal, it's okay. Many of my friends in high school had abortions. I had a friend that gave away abortion pills in the high school after she would come back from Thailand every year visiting her mother. And every part of me should have thought, it's fine, just do it. But I could never actually get myself to do it. And it kind of made me forget all about wanting to end my life. And because of that child and being unable to choose an abortion, and because of the beautiful human being that she ended up being, she turned my heart to be softened towards God. And it led me towards prayer. It led me towards finding myself as a young woman because I was 19 years old when I had her. I had just turned 19 actually. And it was a moment in my life that was life changing. I could have went down two paths. I could have ended her life and likely ended up ending my own, because we all know that when you have an abortion, you're 6 times more likely to commit suicide. And if it's after rape, that rate doubles. So 12 times more likely to commit suicide if you have an abortion after rape. And she was that first step towards everything that I'm doing now. So when you look back at everything that's happened, that moment led me on this path. Every moment has led me on this path. And that's why when really tough things happen right now, like Israel or the border crisis and the human trafficking, and you had mentioned in your last interview, The Sound of Freedom. I actually know Tim Ballard. I've been speaking for Operation Underground Railroad for 8 or 10 years now. And they're an amazing organization. But all of these things, we look at all this bad and this trauma, and it leads people on a path of greatness if they choose to not let it define them. And in that moment and every moment thereafter, where doctors told me to terminate one child after another for medical reasons or whatever it was, it just was a point that led me further and further towards the right path because I chose the right path. And I wanted to be able to define myself. And then I'm not saying I'm perfect, by the way. I am flawed just like everybody else. I'm very sarcastic and silly. I will joke all day long. I'm not an angel by any means, but I try to do good for people. And that's what I hope to show the world is every person has the power to make a difference. I don't care if you're a soccer mom. I don't care if you're a former criminal. I don't care if you work at a grocery store. Everybody can do something. And so that's what I try to bring to the table is we're trying to all better this world. Whether you think it's a big way or a small way, just do good.
and I love that you brought up the stats. I mean, and those are just a couple, stats of many that really obliterate the narrative that, oh, you're not for women if you're not for abortion. I mean, that is the biggest lie. It's much more compassionate once you know the statistics, once you know what this does to women's mental health that have been
Yes.
in it through an abortion. I mean, like you said, it can make you higher, more likely to
Well,
be
Brittany,
suicidal, more likely
postpartum,
to get on these
you still have
antidepressants,
postpartum
and then
depression.
yeah,
You still have
and
postpartum
then
depression, anxiety, psychosis. There's women that have went and murdered people after an abortion and they don't realize it's postpartum psychosis. It's a
wow.
part of you've given birth, right? It's just
Mhm.
you've abruptly ended it and your body recognizes I'm supposed to be nurturing something. Okay?
Wow.
Abortion facilities do not tell you this. Every other
Mm-mm.
country, developed country in the world, if you look at the UK, look at Australia and countries like that, they actually tell women you're going to have a risk of high risk of mental health issues over the next 6 to 8 weeks. It is a postpartum thing. You could lactate, you could bleed quite a bit, you could have risk of infection. Those things aren't told to girls in America. They're just told it's simple, it's like a period, it's no big deal. Abortion is a trauma to the body. And especially after you've been raped, it's a trauma on top of a trauma. And that's exactly why women are so much more apt to commit suicide if they've been raped and they've had an abortion. But abortion in general, I mean, the risk of breast cancer, if you abort your first pregnancy, your risk of breast cancer, now I don't have the stat in front of me, but I want to say it's 400% more likely. It is an enormous amount if you abort, and that's because your breast tissue starts to develop and prepare to make breast milk, and then it's been abruptly ended, and that increases that risk drastically of breast cancer. So abortion is no win at all for women. And you're right, when you talk about it's anti-woman, that's totally true. What does abortion say to a woman? You're not smart enough to go to college if you have a baby. You're not strong enough. You're not resilient enough. You don't have enough support. You don't have enough love. You're on your own. It's just a bunch of negative, negative, negative. Kill your child because you can't do this. And that's the most anti woman thing I've ever heard.
Not to mention how racist. I mean, they love to throw around the word racist, so let's just throw it out on their side. It's racist. These abortions target um, the Black communities. It was, started by a racist, Margaret Sanger, and so we're
It was praised by
disproportionately,
Hitler.
yeah, disproportionately killing off the Black community, and then yet they cheer it on for themselves. It's the biggest lie, and it's so not compassionate. And I think that we need to continue to try and get the truth out there, because they've just done a wonderful propaganda campaign.